Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the WCS Europe Season 2 Premier League. My name's Kyle Aris, alongside Apollo. Apollo, are you ready for Season 2?
I am more than ready for Season 2, Kalaris. Season 1 was such a blast. I had fun there, you had fun there, and I'm sure you guys at home did as well. Season 2 can only be better.
It really can. But before we get into that, Apollo, let's take a brief look at our top round of 16 from Season 1.
That's right. As you can see here, the top 16 finishing players from Season 1, with MVP, our European king, at the top, who fought off Stefano with a 4-1 victory in the grand finals. And as you can see, the three players below, 4GG, Tobago, Tilo, were the players alongside MVP and Stefano that represented us in the WCS Season 1 finals. I'd like to point out one thing, though. Look at the Swedish players. I'm a little bit surprised that they're not as high as many expected. Yeah,
only taking kind of the 9th through 12th place at the very top of the peak there. The Swedish players normally do a little bit better, but in fact, if you didn't tune into some of Season 1, then we can re-jog your memories with a little bit of a clip right now.
Welcome to the WCS Europe Season 1 final.
South coming in to clap this army.
Oh, he's going to catch a lot of it up. A lot of Baileys actually do connect to the bottom there. The Vipers move on forwards here. They get killed off as well. But the Corruptors, they're just going to fly straight on in and kill off all of the Colossi. Is there enough on the ground here for Stefano to keep at bay, though? It's going to be a big surround here. Those Zerglings swinging in from the back whilst the Banelings try and get the connections.
The Banelings, the Banelings, the Banelings.
Oh, they're gonna, the Mutalists.
Oh
my God!
Firework!
Off everything along with Banelings. 4GG is just down and out here. Stefano is looking to advance onto the final. He kills off SCVs. GG!
He knows that MVP is well out of position, and there comes the movement in. He's headed in one direction and one direction alone to prevent that fourth from mining.
And then from there, because MVP took his third so early, he's going to have such little income once this expansion ends up falling. Oh, a good Widowman connection on some of those Banelings, but the Planetary Fortress falls. GG for game number 1. Stefano takes the first game in this best of 7.
And the Mutalists get right on top of them. The Brutalists may live strong. It's going to be incredibly close, but
to Seekers, they actually connect with some of those Mutalists, and he tries to do some splash damage to the Thors at the back, but it's not enough there. So much of MVP's mech army starts rolling across this.
Well played, MVP. What a game. What a game.
What an incredible Season 1. Some fantastic moments to remember there. Some gorgeous clips.
Yeah, at Season 1, what a way to kick off WCS Europe. But I can guarantee you it's pretty much only going to get better here in Season 2, as we can now take a look at our 32 players representing in Premier League.
That's right. 32 players spread across 8 different groups. I'd just like to put it out there for you guys. Group A and B, or each and every one of the groups, are paired together. Group A and B together, which are being played out today and tomorrow. Next week, Group C and Group D are paired together. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, our broadcast will be going live at 6 p.m. local time.
Yep, and looking at these 32 players, for me, Group E kind of stands out in the fact that, well, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for Mr. Wellmu. Having tried to advance to Premier League in the first season, only missing the mark a few times, and now claiming his rightful place in that Premier League is pretty impressive by him, but he certainly has a tough mountain to climb.
I think every single group here is very, very difficult. I'm most looking forward to today, just to kick it off, just to get Season 2 underway. MVP's group, I mean, he's the returning king. He's the returning champion here.
Yeah, he really is. And we can actually take a little bit of a look at those 4 players here. MVP, Tefel, Beastie QT, and Elfi now playing out in Group A.
Yeah, MVP stands head and shoulders above the rest here. It's MVP. He's last season's champion, top 4 at the Season 1 Grand Finals as well. But we do have 3 challengers to the throne here.
Yep,
and I say challengers because every one of them came from Challenger League. Qualification into Challenger League, then going through Challenger League themselves. They are coming for MVP here.
Yeah, they really are. Tefel had a pretty kind of very, very I would say, a smooth run through Challenger League. He was able to take Naniwara in the final game, 2-0, whereas Beastie Cutie and Elfi, they didn't have as easy a time as Tefel, having to play through the group stages and eventually battle their way through. But Tefel sitting at around the 54th WCS rank, whilst we have Beastie Cutie and Elfi sitting at 100 each with 150 points. But then MVP standing at the very, very tip top there at 3rd. Very, very impressive by him. And in fact, he is going to be opening things up today. It's going to be MVP versus Elfi.
This is going to be our first game of Season 2. It all begins here. All those clips you saw in the Season 1 highlight video, it begins here for Season 2. MVP going up against Elfi. Korea versus Finland. As you can see, rank 3 versus rank 100. Terran versus Protoss is going to be a good start.
Yeah, it really is. Elfi, having been previously of ROG and then also of Acer, then actually now joining ENCE, but now we have MVP, who in 2011 was the absolute dominant force. He was the best player in the world, undisputably. But in 2012, didn't quite hit it. Now in 2013, Apollo, is he back?
All right, let me talk to you, Kalaris. Is he back? Is a question that has been asked for many a months now. Yes, he had a difficult 2012. In 2013, though, he's played at the IEM, he's played at other tournaments as well, but specifically the WCS season run. In the Europe Premier League, he won it all, and people doubted him, especially in the round of 32 when he gave us lackluster games. He went on and won the entire thing, beating out Stefano and everyone else in that grand top 8 easily. He moved on to the WCS Season 1 finals, crushing through people after people, players after players, managing to get a top 4 finish, losing out narrowly to the champion of the entire thing. 2 wins to 3. MVP. The question I ask you guys at home, do you think MVP's back? Because I do.
He certainly could be. He certainly could. And we're going to be getting into this first game very, very soon. MVP's hardest time he had was during the round of 32 last season. Now in Season 2, he has to overcome these hurdles. And what a player to actually go up against first in the form of Elfi. He's a wild, wild player.
Elfi is an incredibly dangerous player. We all know Elfi. Elfi's the guy that had a crazy series at DreamHack with Life, you know, cannon rushes, 6 pulls. Elfi's a player that can beat anybody. You look at him and you say, how? How does he beat anybody? And not many people can answer. Not many people can tell you the actual response, but he manages to do it. Most recently, as he's starting to increase his results, at DreamHack just a week ago, was able to bring down in the round of 32 Tasia and Thorzane, 2 amazing Terran players.
Yeah, very, very impressive players. And we can actually jump into game number 1 now, as we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our blue Terran. And we have Mr. LGIM MVP. And spawning up to the top left as our red Protoss, we have none other than ENCE Elfi.
That's right, there is Elfi, of course. Elfi, a dangerous player. MVP, a critical player here, Kalaris. MVP, let's just look at the styles of both of these players. MVP focuses on strategies, on execution, on just outplaying and outsmarting his opponent. Elfi, on the other hand, looks to, you know, be cheeky, pull sneaky strategies out, and try to topple you before you get going.
Definitely. Elfi, he has some very, very crazy builds out there. It's interesting because there were previous interviews with Elfi at DreamHack, for example, where Elfi even admitted to him, to everyone, that he considers himself a lazy player, a player that wants to beat their opponents as quickly as possible. But on the contrast side of that, we saw him at DreamHack go up against people like Thorzane and Tasia and play some very, very impressive macro games.
Yeah, that's the funny thing with Elfi, is we look at him and say he's a wild and crazy party Protoss, I like to call him, because he is very unpredictable. But in the games against Thorzane and Tasia specifically, he played one style, and on a big maps like Whirlwind, this, exactly. Nexus first, he's going to actually be playing a macro style against MVP, and I fear that this could do well for him. I fear it looking from MVP's perspective. Elfi, I think, is going to play Double Forge. He's going to play Colossus. He's going to look to take it to the late game, to High Templar, Storms, to the Colossus, to out-macroing his opponent.
And one thing that is very, very weird is the fact that for MVP going into this group is he has never played any of these players. He has never played Elfi, he's never played Tefel, he's never played Beastie Cutie, at least in tournament games. So how does that, Apollo, how does that affect MVP going into this group?
I think it could affect him because the way that MVP practices in his training regime, it's all around knowing your opponent, knowing what to do against them. It really depends on how much MVP's put into this. Has he researched his opponents? Did he see Elfi play versus Tasha, Elfi play versus Thorzane? If he did, then that's great for MVP naturally, but if he didn't, anything's possible.
Anything certainly is, and I think that, I mean, we've had a few Korean players go up against Elfi in the past, so maybe MVP has asked them, you know, what Elfi is up to. And everyone, I mean, even some Koreans know Elfi as a player who is pretty aggressive on 2 bases, going for timings and things like that. So MVP might get a wrong read into Elfi if he wants to stick to that macro game.
Well, if we look at this game already, the way it's unfolding, both of the players just blindly opening up macro focus. Whirlwind's one of the bigger maps in the map pool here, if not the biggest. The difference between the 2 players at this point, Elfi's got full-on information on exactly what MVP's doing. Vice versa, though, that's not quite the same situation. MVP has no idea. Actually has no idea what's going on at this point.
Yeah, that's certainly a bit of an annoyance for him, and he will actually go for the scout here, having a little bit of a look around and seeing what's going on. Will start whacking away with that Zealot, denying the scout, but he does see the Nexus, so that's good for him. He now knows that Elfi is a little bit more focused on that macro. Yeah,
that's right. So both players actually know exactly how things are working out here, and that's the best part for both of these players, because information is crucial.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, Elfi at the very beginning of this game as well, he saw the fact that his opponent had double barracks going down, so he knew that MVP was being a little bit more prepared than he would have been if he had gone for standard 1 barracks into double gas. And MVP here for now, just placing his supply depots around, just making sure that he's not caught off guard by anything too crazy.
Yeah, a little bit of observer lag there, but MVP, at this point, when you both know that you're opening up like this, it's go ahead, man, open the floodgates, do whatever you want, throw down the 3rd command center. Elfi, you know, he knows exactly his command center first. He knows that he's not under any threat until at least the 10-minute mark here. So he's able to throw down the robotics facility off a single gateway. He'll probably maybe add a 2nd gateway, but go up to double forge incredibly fast here. This is going to play out long and dramatic here, hopefully.
Yeah, it should do here. As for now, MVP just gearing himself up in the middle of the map. This might be a little bit of a poke out from him to maybe try and force out a photon overcharge at that natural. So important here for Terrans nowadays, but actually he's going to go home with those Marines to kick things off.
Yeah, it is a little bit risky. Sometimes you want to do it, sometimes you don't. It depends on how, or if you're willing to take that risk. But on the flip side here, both players taking gases. The gas on the 3rd base for MVP is down already. He'll want to take his 4th, not 2 yet. You don't need to rush up as intensively with gas as a Terran player. But on the flip side, Elfi, all 4 gases are down. This is perfect. There's the robotics bay. Very shortly we'll see the double forge coming down as well. He's just opened up the best way possible for the situation here. Elfi, I'd say at this point, both players very level in this game. But the major thing that Elfi needs to focus on, when that 10-minute mark comes, if he can defend the pressure, which is always going to come against every single Terran player, he's set up beautifully. If not, that's where MVP is going to look to take a lead, look to take the first real blow in this game.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be up to Elfi here to really kind of determine the pace of his Terran opponent, I would say. As we do have that Hallucinated Phoenix now making its way on in, having a little bit of a look around his opponent's base here.
He's looking for the 3rd command center, because if he sees the 3rd command center, he knows he can do anything he wants to at this point. But upon seeing the barracks coming down, the starport near and finishing, he knows that approaching that 10-minute mark, which is now 1 minute and 50 seconds away, he needs to be ready. This means now getting his 1-1 upgrades as soon as the forges are done, and actually adding on additional gateways. Because he's only at 2 gateways at this point, he's played incredibly greedy to play against what he's seen from his opponent.
Yeah, and to your point about trying to find that 3rd command center, there is one going down in the natural, but his observer is going to be slightly blocked by that missile turret. So if he wants to get in there for Elfi, he'll have a little bit of a harder time actually maneuvering around there. Elfi poking out with 3 sentries and a mothership core, but, well, if he did get any trouble, he would have recall at least.
The thing is, what he's looking to do there is just to fake a bit of pressure. 3 sentries moving out across a map like that suggests potential aggression, but it's like the complete reverse, right? We know that he's opened up, 2 gateways into Colossus, double forge is now down, Cronenberg's going into it. He just wanted to feign a bit of pressure. MVP didn't even blink, but he did, I think, just scan his opponent's main base. I think I heard the scan go down.
Yeah, it's in the natural.
He scanned the natural. So what he's looking for, unit count. What's actually going on at that point? And I think he may have seen a couple of sentries and whatnot, but he saw hardly any units. Sentries and single Colossus. He now knows double forge, Colossus play. He knows what he's playing up against.
Yeah, that robo at the very front really gave him a little bit of an indication as to what was going on. Along with the Twilight Council now going down for Elfi behind this, as well as a few more gateways. And with that, MVP, he's just adding on his engineering bay. Is that the 2nd one? I'm assuming that is the 2nd one, yeah. As he already does have the... Does he have +1? He does have +1 weapons as well. So his upgrades are going quite nicely, but we're always going to have the Protoss a bit ahead with the double chronos.
Well, it's 20 seconds past 10 here. You can look at it that way. Why isn't Elfi ready? Why not units in the main base? I think he had an observer waiting to see if these units moved out. This has really hit Elfi by surprise. Didn't expect this moving out. He's lost a pylon or two. Hasn't taken too much damage, but I really believe he should have been ready for that. We pointed out by the 10-minute mark, that's when MVP is going to come and get you.
Whoa. And speaking of that, look at Elfi's macro right now. 1,300 minerals banked up here. That, again, to your point, could have been a lot more Stalkers at the back there ready and waiting for that kind of drop to come in, but it wasn't there for Elfi right now. And
he's got to be on top of building units at this point. He's got his 2 top grades coming down. He will want to take, he's probably adding on an extra gateway because of that. He will want to take his 3rd base very shortly. He's going up to 3 Colossus. Traditional Elfi will go to a minimum of 3. We may even see a 4th one come down. Very late with his High Templar switch, but he's going to try to take a 3rd. And look at that, MVP expecting it.
Yeah, just instantly positioned there, ready and waiting for him as soon as it goes down. Forces the cancellation of that. And meanwhile, Elfi has spotted his opponent's 3rd in position. So he's got to feel the pressure right now.
At this point for MVP, the game is delay the 3rd base from going down as long as possible. There's no way he's going to kill Elfi, but if he brings it back into the main base, you know, come back to the 3rd base, perfect positionally based play from MVP. Slowing his opponent down, not looking to do damage, backs out. Will probably try to drop on this 3rd base again. But Elfi's now got that guaranteed. I don't think he's going to lose it again.
Yeah, he's actually, Elfi from this point has actually done a really, really good job of splitting his army up, making sure no damage is going to occur from that point. But behind all of this, MVP, he's already got his Vikings on the way, and he's got the later stage of that tech on the way with the Ghost Academy going down. So any High Templars that will come along eventually off the back of a Twilight Council and Templar Archives are going to be completely shut down.
Yeah, and there's the attempt to slow the 3rd base down. Didn't really work there. I'd be interested to know, what's the Viking count at this point? Viking count is at 6. So with the Viking count starting to climb up here, remember the next stage of this game is Elfi preparing himself for an attack with only Vikings, an anti-High Templar attack before Storm is ready. We haven't even seen the Templar Archives come down. One thing to point out, though, is that Elfi does love to continue to build Colossus. He's probably up to 4, if not 5 by now. So the 6 Vikings, if not 8 by now, isn't that high. It's not going to bring down the Colossus fast enough. The Colossus will do way too much damage. This is Elfi's style, as some people say.
And well, MVP has been spotted moving out into the middle of the map by that observer that saw it all transitioning over to that watchtower. And now Elfi's got to prepare himself. He's got to know that his opponent is out on the map, moving around. He's looking for it with the observer as well. Hasn't spotted it just yet, but now he's in a very, very defensive position at his 3rd base. And the macro of MVP, 181 supply to 162 right now, is really, really showing.
This is MVP's strength, man. He knows what strategy he's going to use, and he will macro his heart out to build a big army. 10 Vikings now. This is getting scary. Where is the Templar Archives, Elfi? It has to come down soon, because at 10 Vikings, he's going to 2-shot Colossus at this point. And if he gets a free Colossus shot, then this could be very, very dangerous. Elfi needs the Templar Archives to come down now. He needs it as soon as possible. Without Storm, he is going to run into trouble very, very soon.
There he is. Oh, and MVP actually snipes out that observer as well. A great move there. Really puts a little bit more fear behind Elfi, and he needs to be in such a secure position when defending all of these locations. Another great scan spots the entire army.
The Vikings have to fall down here. He's got to target the Vikings. Oh, the EMPs!
Oh, fantastic. Actually obliterating a lot of the energy on the entirety of that army. The Colossi are going to fall very, very quickly here as well. The remaining force fields did split up a little bit of that bio, but not really enough. All the Colossus are dead. The bio can still push on forwards here and make it really uncomfortable for Elfi.
Oh, he's got a lot of Stalkers here. He may have Blink as well, if I'm not mistaken, but that's all he has. There are Marauders. These units are very well upgraded as well. Elfi's in trouble here.
Yeah, he is. If he loses this 3rd, if he loses this army in general, he is going to be down and out. Right now, MVP taking a huge supply lead as well, hunting down all these Stalkers. There's a Colossus coming in from the back, but the bio could easily just turn on that and kill it off. He's going to be forced to lift off, though. He's just going to go straight into the main.
Yeah, look at that, though. MVP drops down 130 supply. Elfi keeps his 3rd base alive, but he's still in the same problem as before. No High Templar, Templar Archive, no High Templar whatsoever. MVP's threat is away, but it's only going to keep on coming.
Yeah.
He's got great production facilities. He's got Vikings on the way. He's got a full base on the way as well. Still, it's the same conclusion. Elfi needs Storm. It's that simple. Without Storm, this next wave. How many Vikings has he had already?
He's still... he's only at 2 now.
But there's only 1 Colossus, so it's 2 Colossus. It's not that big of a deal, but the sheer amount of units the MVP is going to be able to power up to is dangerous for Elfi.
Yeah. The one kind of saving grace for Elfi would be the fact that he did actually land some of those Vikings in that last battle.
Yeah.
And then and even loaded one up into a medevac, which got shot down in the end. But the point is now is that still the macro lead is very much in favor of MVP right now. Storm has started for Elfi, but if it's out in time, I don't think so. It's
I mean, he lost
difficult.
all his sentries as well. He's very limited on only having 6 gases at this point when he's trying to build up his high Templar count. He's only got a single observer across the other side of the map. Cloak's going to become a problem for these ghosts very shortly once Mobius Reactor is done. So Elfi actually needs to start, at this point, ideally as a Protoss player, you're banking money. You're having money to save up to spend to do something else. A second robotics facility coming down. Oh, okay, Elfi's made a big play with his second robotics facility. He's saying, I'm only going to get 3 high Templar because I know you've got ghosts. I know you've got ghost building, and you're probably getting ready for my high Templar switch, as that's what Paul keeps screaming me to do. So now with his second robotics facility, he's going to try to climb up way high in Colossus and overpower the Vikings. This is a threat that MVP needs to find out, whether it be attacking into the army and seeing it, scanning, anything. This could be dangerous for MVP.
Yeah, this is a cool little play from Elfi. If it's able to work out for him, then kudos. But at the same time now, MVP is moving into position with a drop at the back. There is a high Templar here that could land a feedback on one of these medevacs. Would kill it off instantly, but he's not going to hit it.
Oh, the weakness of Elfi there. His multitasking, being able to deal in multi-places all at once, really showing.
Yeah, and at the same time, there is the army at the front. Oh, we killed off a Colossus at the front there. The drop in the back, meanwhile, is actually still doing quite a little bit of damage. Did force away a lot of those probes, and the big engagement in the middle. Storms do go down, trying to push this Bioforce backwards. I don't know if he actually has enough Zealots to actually fully tank all of this, though. Whilst it pushes on forwards, MVP kills off all the Zealots. He kills off the Stalkers. The last Colossus is going to fall. And MVP here in game number 1. There you go. GG.
Powerhouse MVP.
Powerhouse
MVP comes crushing through to take the first map of this best of 3.
Very, very impressive play there by MVP. I think all around just impressive macro. Just really impressive macro.
That's his play style.
Yeah.
What Elfi's definitely banking on doing here is not making those critical mistakes in the mid stages. His army was clumped up. He got 8 by AMPs.
Yeah.
You know, Vikings came in, cleared everything up. His high Templar switch was a little bit late. I know that he likes to delay it, but I felt in this game it may have been a little bit over-delayed. Needed the high Templar a little bit sooner here. But I don't think Elfi's going to change up his playstyle coming into map number 2 and 3. I think he's going to play the same.
Yeah.
I think he's going to try to play macro with MVP, and then rely on getting his Storms down, relying on his Colossus play.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the macro play is probably where Elfi's going to try and shine here. Going for a timing attack against someone like MVP is fraught with danger. Trying to break someone who is as strong as MVP that early on, and not trying to just stretch him to the full limits, can be a little bit dicey there for Elfi. So I think that'll be where it is.
I mean, if Elfi's able to make this comeback, turn it around, and win 2 games to 1 after beating Tasia and Thorzane at DreamHack just a week ago, anything is possible for this Finnish player in Season 2. But so far, it is the reigning champion that has started this group with a blast, has taken map number 1, and is only going to look to advance through very fast just with 2 games. Beat Elfi, beat the winner of the second match, get out of here, get a flight to Germany, and then come beat up the rest.
I mean, that's what he is here to do. He is the reigning champion of Season 1. If he were to go out in the round of 32, that would be the biggest upset of... Well, there's been some upsets in Season 2 of WCS thus far. Not in Europe, of course, because we just started. But in Europe, that would be a pretty big upset.
In Korea, there's been a couple as well, definitely. They're ongoing right now. We won't spoil them, spoil all of them, should I say. Won't spoil all of them, Kalaris.
Not that guy.
But yeah, WCS Season 2 starting right here. This is, of course, the Premier League of Europe WCS. I'm very excited for this. I hope you guys are as well. We'll be jumping into map number 2 in just a couple of seconds' time here as MVP is just getting ready. The next map is going to be Neoplanet S, where these 2 players will duke off. This is where, of course, Elfi did begin his 2-1 victory over Tasia. Yeah,
he did. And again, as we have to reiterate, a lot of macro games in those series at DreamHack. So he's trying to find his stride. Again, a lot of Elfi's players in the past weren't necessarily macro focused. Let's not beat around the bush. They weren't very macro focused. But nowadays, he's really looking to move onto that position. And a player like Elfi, if he nails down those macro games while still having the ability to go for crazy wild timing attacks, then he becomes an extremely formidable and dangerous player.
Do you think Elfi comes back to win this next map, or does MVP close it at 2-0? Be honest with me, Klaus. Be honest.
I shall be honest with you and say, because of my fake Finnish heritage after living there for 3 years, I hope Elfi does.
All right.
There you go.
I'm sure everyone in Finland will be cheering to that if he does. And we'll find out now as we get into Neoplanet S. I'm on the flip side of things. I think MVP's got 2-0.
No,
it's
no,
MVP. It's the reigning champion of Europe. He's a top 4 finisher at WCS Season 1. We asked the question at the start of the broadcast, is MVP back? The simple answer is yes, he is.
And we shall jump into game number 2 now, as we have Neoplanet S as our second map. And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner as our red Protoss. Once again, he is Ents Elfi. And spawning up to the top right as our blue Terran, up 1-0. He is LGIM MVP.
All right. Game number 2 of day 1 of the Season 2 WCS Premier League. Let's find out who's going to be able to take the first series of the day here between these two players. I'm going to go with MVP once again. On this one, though, it can play out very differently, in all honesty. I think that we could see aggressive play come out from MVP. He's, you know, in the past, in his Heart of Swarm career, he's loved getting an early gas, Widowmine, Marine drops, anything on those lines here. I wouldn't put it past him.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, he certainly has a very, very wide set of tools at his disposal, and that certainly could come to fruition. But I've got to say, on a personal note, Apollo, it is damn good to be back here with the WCS Europe. Very nice. I would say I've had nothing to do since WCS Season 1, but that would be a lie, because there's actually been so much StarCraft that I've just watched StarCraft. I
went to Korea for the Season 1 finals at DreamHack last week, and now we're back. It feels like, you know, there's almost zero downtime.
There's Home Story Cup as well.
There's a lot of, well, I was going to say a lot of people at home may have the same experience, but I'm sure you guys have watched all the tournaments as well. Non-stop StarCraft action here, thanks to Blizzard, and of course it's beautiful WCS, which is what we are doing here once again today. And we do see a gas down by MVP. He has opened up gas this time.
Yep, liking it, liking it. Where do you think he's going to go with this? Is this for a Reaper initially?
I think he'll go up towards the factory here. I believe he may go for a Widowmine Marine drop. It's one of his favorite builds to open alongside Command Center first. Reaper builds are possible from MVP, but I think with the gas timing of this one... oh, no, excuse me, it is a Reaper. Okay, so it is going to be it.
Well, yeah, that she'll be poking along, but there isn't the impossibility that he wouldn't go for that Widowmine Marine thing as well, which, as you've pointed out just before, is one of his favorite builds, and it's very formidable. Dealing with Widowmines that early, for example, can be really, really annoying for a Protoss, especially considering if they haven't opened up for a relatively early robo.
If we have a look at, could I see Elfi's gases here? Because I'm wondering if he's got all 3 in. Elfi's gas is okay. He's got all 3. Oh, no, 2 in 1.
2 in 1.
2-2.
Two
so
twos, yeah.
With 2-2, he definitely is just going to expand here, use his gas towards a mothership core, and probably a couple of sentries, like Zealot, Sentry, or something along those lines here. I was thinking if he had 3 in gas, we very well could have seen a Stargate opening, a build that the Elfi used against Tasia, if I'm not mistaken. But look at this. The Zealot was made, but it isn't going down to the natural. An engineering bay is at 99% complete.
Yeah. And that's a big blow, really, for Elfi. I mean, he has to now send his Zealot down there, firstly, and get that cleaned up, or do something else from this. And we've seen Protosses in the past be prompted, because of this delay for so long, do something a bit more aggressive.
And Elfi still hasn't gone down the ramp yet. Like, this is kind of bad for Elfi, because the longer he waits, the harder it's going to be to clean up. His probe goes down, let's build that next.
Elfi.
Oh, crap.
Oh, well, that's going to be certainly quite a long delay there, and he went for Sentry off the back of that, so technically the Reaper is going to be a little bit more formidable if it wants to actually try and jump in and maybe poke around. That being said, the Mothership Core is there, though, so we'll see how well this Reaper can do. At least he gets a full scout off of the base, at least.
Is he going to find the Robo? I don't think he's passed it yet. It may have just been outside his vision range, and Elfi's trying to deny it with the probes. Oh, and he swings by, and he's going to pick that scout up. So now that MVP knows the 3 tech choices that Elfi had, Twilight Council for DTs, Stargate play for some late Oracle, or Robotics Facility for normal play. Upon seeing normal play, MVP, great position from here. He knows that no aggression's coming at all.
Very, very much so. And he's even got his Starport even going down at a fantastic time here to prepare for anything that would come along from Elfi, whilst his second command center is finished up. And it is going to be that Widowmine play. Yeah,
Widowmine and Marines, a good combination to have here. He's going to be able to drop into the mineralize. It depends on how many observers we actually have put out there. Is it going to be 1? Does it go across the map? Are they going to be in the mineral lines? He's definitely looking to do a bit of damage here.
Yep, he certainly is. That Reaper's still alive, keeping good tabs on his opponent as well. May even sneak in once again for another scout. And if we were to see, well, 2 gateways is pretty normal at this point, so there's nothing really out of the norm that he could scout out, other than the fact to just be a little bit of a nuisance.
Yeah, fast double gas is coming down on the natural here for Elfi. He may be trying to play this around a little bit, show his image being of a Colossus player, may try to go up to to a Twilight Council quite fast here, especially with all 4 gases incredibly early in this game. His Nexus isn't even finished yet. This Reaper, though,
bye-bye.
See ya, buddy, in
Poor
the
little
afterlife.
Well, he gets cleaned up, and the Widow Mines for now are actually sticking around at the front. So what is he going to do with this? Well, actually, that being said, the initial medevac is rallied to a Widow Mine. So he should be going for that. Oh, but the Observer just saw the medevac. Now, I guess from that point, he should be preparing for some kind of drop play.
There's no extra barracks, right? There's no tech lab, there's no stim, there's no combat shields. It's not normal play from MVP. Elfi, despite not seeing the Widow Mine, should already know that a Marine drop, Hellion drop, Mine, Marine, a mix of combination of everything is coming. And that's what we're seeing here. There's quite a few Marines down already. There's Mines, there's Marines inside the medevac. This could be deadly here for Elfi. He's got to play this out carefully.
Yeah, he really does. His observers are pretty much across the other side of the map. One of them is coming back from his third, so should be able to deal with these Widow Mines a little bit easier than one would have initially expected, with maybe a lack of observers out to begin with. And as you can see there, does notice it. Oh, he loses the observer!
But he picks up one Widow Mine, the other's there. It's not in a deadly position. He needs to move it closer in. That's a bit better of a position. Oh, doesn't quite get targeted down.
This is so close there. Good force fields will prevent those from going down the ramp. Ooh,
I'd pick up. If I was MVP,
go.
Instantly pick up and drop on the natural there. Granted, there's the photon overcharge ready, but he could have cut a lot of probes in return.
Yeah, he really could have. That would have denied. Those force fields would have worked well against Elfi there. Picks up, runs away for now, and loses a few Marines. But in the end, he got an observer. That's a pretty good pickup at least.
Yeah, I mean, the trading blows. MVP delayed his expansion to do this. He's slowed down Elfi a little bit. He's pylon blocked Elfi at 60 supply. Elfi, in all honesty, not bringing the best of play out yet. Not yet.
And I think MVP's just tricked him. The way in which he went out with that medevac and the fact that he hid down there before that observer was able to get in position to try and spot it once again. MVP just darts back on in. Is he going to get this pylon?
Just little tidbits, you know. He's not looking to kill anything here. He doesn't have stim, doesn't have combat shield. Little by little, MVP does damage to Elfi, who's majorly supply blocked. Now, look at that. 68, is that? 66 over 60. Yeah. No pylons in construction. His money's going to rocket. Granted, he can get 1-1 upgrades, but apart from that, he's in a bit of trouble there with that Colossus being built. But all these small things, MVP, on the other hand, supply depots are being built. He's got his third command center coming down. He's got +1 on the way, stim, combat shields, the lot. MVP playing this out rather well so far.
As you said, just little tidbits. Just all the small little advantages you can get at the very beginning of a game, even if it's just a pylon, even if it's just supply blocking him for that period of time, is a fantastic pickup there for MVP, who is now, well, again, he's flourishing with his macro. He's adding on extra barracks, 5 barracks here to complement onto the third command center that is already down. So eventually you can fly that over and get pumping on 3 bases, which is going to be very strong.
So if we compare it to the previous game, I'd say again, not again, but I'd say here that MVP's got a lead from the early game. He didn't have that in the previous one. He took it in the mid stages because of Elfi's mistakes and keeping him back. Elfi's made the mistakes a lot earlier in this game. That's going to mean that it's going to be much harder to take a third base than it was previously, which again is going to stretch MVP's advantage out, especially with this. The armory coming down, the second engineering bay. He's playing on tip-top form at the moment, I'd say, MVP. And what we're going to see now is combat shields +1 and stim finish. He will move out, and we'll put that pressure on. We'll continue to drop. We'll keep Elfi away from the third base. And the longer that Elfi's away, the longer that he's not making pylons. Look, he's supply blocked again here. Elfi's not bringing the same form that he had against Tasia, that he had against Thorzane. And without that same form that we saw that magic at DreamHack happen, he will not be able to beat MVP here. And he may even struggle to get out this group as well.
And these Stalkers up to the north did spot this medevac for just a second, tried to chase it away. But MVP also in turn spotted that and will actually pull away. And meanwhile, down to the bottom here, good drop here by MVP, actually picking off one of the Colossus. Will he get a second one? Yes, he does.
No way.
3 medevacs worth of drop, able to do so much damage in the main.
Picks off 2 Colossus. And remember that how Elfi plays, right? He likes to go up to 3 or 4 Colossus. Let me now put the downside of Elfi's play into perspective. That if he wants to climb back up to that count, he's just going to die to a Viking timing. So very smart here from Elfi. He's decided to throw down the Templar Archives, because if he tried to race up back to Colossus to 4 or whatever, by the time that he's even at 4, there's like 16 Vikings, he's dead. No way can he play this game. He's taking too many hits, too many blows. Now, with Templar Archives coming down, there's still that timing, I suppose, that, you know, he can get in there before Storm. But the question is, does MVP even know? Does he realize? And I don't think he does at this point, so he's not going to just blindly move out.
Well, I mean, that 2 Colossus pickoff was a fantastic pickoff there from MVP. And now, well, as you said before, with that Storm going down for Elfi, trying to transition on something different, but MVP's already got the Ghost Academy going down.
Yeah.
So that's certainly something that's going to help him out considerably. This is as equally timed as it was in Game 1, to be fair. 4 Vikings out this time. There were 6 out before he was going for that Ghost Academy last game. So a little bit earlier here, as MVP feels that, you know, that maybe the potential for Storm a bit quicker, because he knows that Elfi got it a little bit slower in
an
Game 1.
ideal world, if I was MVP, I probably wouldn't use a scan because I'm good enough to win the game anyway.
Yeah.
But a lot of Terran players would be like, all right, let's scan, let's check his army composition. Is there High Templars? Is there Colossus? Because you need to know when to stop Viking production and really ramp up the Ghost production. He's still building Vikings, which means he doesn't know this yet. But still, the Vikings can land here. MVP is up to 165 supply already, compared to Elfi's 106. Very simple math here. Elfi's, guys, in trouble.
Yeah, he really is. And actually, he's only got 48 probes against 59 SCVs right now. So his probe production hasn't been exactly on point. Understandably, when you're on 2 bases as a Protoss, you sometimes need to cut it to try and deny some drop play and stuff like that. But still, now he's so far behind in terms of supply. His army value is 64 to 124.
Elfi moving out like this. Let's just say Elfi's got big balls.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't do that. Granted, he's got Storm, which is going to help, but there's already Ghosts.
Look at this
There's a
bio
major army.
And
Elfi is playing with fire, or vodka, or however you want to say it. He is risking it, being out here like this.
And that risk may end up coming along very, very soon here, as that Bioforce is huge. There's no way for him to get out of this position. He's relying on Storms and Force Fields alone to try and deal with this army. Admittedly, there's not that many Ghosts, only 3. So if he can split up his energy units, he's going to be okay, but I don't know if he's going to be that successful.
It's like a pussycat going up to a lion. This is what it looks like for Elfi. He's the cat, obviously, if you didn't get that. He's the cat here. And MVP's scary. But this is interesting from Elfi. He's got him positioned on this third. If he keeps Force Fields coming down, sends Zealots up, he can actually suffocate this third base a little bit from MVP. But the fact still remains, MVP's army is massive.
Yeah, it certainly could do. A few Storms do go down here on this bio, trying to shred that up as fast as it can do. But look, it doesn't even matter if those Storms hit well. The ground force for Elfi just disappears. The Storms continue to go down, but there's nothing here for Elfi.
MVP in his brown mane goes, "Roar!" as he clamps forward a victory on this army. I mean, this is just complete domination. Look, he's just rolling over his opponent here.
What I witnessed just then was some SCVs killing 2 High Templars up on the high ground. And there you go, GG. MVP cruises through his first best-of-3 series, 2-0.
In all honesty, I did think it would be a little bit closer than that. MVP played extraordinarily well. He clamped down his authority on Season 2.
Yep.
Guys, I am the champion from Season 1. Remember that. I'm in Group A of the round of 32. Do you think I'm going to lose in the round of 32?
No.
No. And he opens up game number 1 with a win, but he still has another game to play.
He does. That's going to be either against Beastie QT or Tefel, 2 very, very formidable European opponents in the European scene. Both of which rising up through the ranks, looking to do themselves justice. Not too bad for themselves.
Yeah, they're going to be our next match that's coming up. Of course, the winner of those 2, as mentioned, we're going up against MVP in this winners match. The loser of those 2 will go up against Elfi in the losers match.
Yep. So I believe we'll be sending it to a short commercial break, and then we'll be right back with Beastie QT versus Tefel.